Welcome back, everybody. This is John Malanca with United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. And my special guest today is Jim Bartell and an old friend, Janna Champagne, who's been with United Patients Group team, I guess, for the past 4 years, Janna. So great to see you, and great to have you on, Jim, as well. The reason why this is important to me, because when I hear anything about pancreatic cancer, of course, because of Corinne, I'll stop and help any way I possibly can. Sadly, what brought Jim and I together is the loss of his son, Ryan, a 41-year-old male, athlete, health, married, good life, just like Corinne. And he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and lost his battle 7 weeks later. I've been thinking about this, Jim, since being introduced to you. I had 4 months with my wife, and my heart goes out because I still hold back tears of losing my wife, and I'm certain you are as well. You're here to talk about not only your son, Ryan's Law, but Senate Bill 305 here in California, talking about having access to terminal patients in hospitals when they're battling any terminal illness, cancer being one, but having access to cannabis. So can you share your story, and thanks for being on as well.
Sure. Thanks, John. Ryan grew up very healthy. I mean, never sick a day in his life. Tall, lanky, very, very fit, ran every day. All-state distance runner in high school, college scholarship for running, ran 4 years in college, ran every day of his life, 5 miles a day to stay in shape. In fact, his oncologist said he was the most fit patient he'd ever had. And so after a ski trip, he went straight to the emergency room because something was wrong and he knew it. And that was February 28th, 2018. Went to the hospital. I didn't know he was there at the time till the next morning when he called me. He said, "Dad, I have some terrible news. I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and they're giving me weeks or months to live." And as a parent, that's the last thing you want to hear from a child. And so the first hospital he was in, had him on morphine the first night. That wasn't working, so they added fentanyl. Fentanyl, for those who don't know, is 100 times more powerful than morphine. So all it did was put him to sleep immediately. And that's the way he was for 4.5 weeks. Never able to talk to his family, his wife, his son, brother, sister, friends. And I asked the oncologist if we could replace the fentanyl with cannabis. And he thought it was actually a good idea. He was very supportive of cannabis. So he put the request in to the hospital, and they denied it about a week later. And then we went searching for a hospital that would allow it, and found one. And they said, "Bring in the medicines. We'll refrigerate them with his name on it. We'll help administer the dosage." Complete reversal of the position of the first hospital. And so, but to do all the paperwork and the insurance took about 2 to 3 more weeks. So it was 4.5 weeks before we got him transferred. And James Creel, the medical cannabis chemist, brought the medicines in. He had to get creative in terms of how they were being applied because Ryan couldn't swallow anything, couldn't even swallow water. And so he came up with a suppository to deal with slowing down the cancer. And he had tinctures for under the tongue for the pain relief. And enormous amount, about 1,000 milligrams per dose, 4 times a day. Janna probably knew that. 25-to-1 THC to CBD ratio. I mean, he was the biggest high that James had ever created for anybody. But the next morning he woke up wide awake, talking, texting his friends saying, "I'm awake." And then it was a floodgate of friends flying in from all over the country, college friends. lifelong friends. And the nurses were literally crying. Janna knows that. And so we had 2.5 great weeks with Ryan. Talking every day, laughing. Friends of his were flying in and reminiscing.
Yeah, I remember it was so wonderful that he was able to interact with his son and his wife again as well, and have that little bit of extra time with them.
And that was important because we wouldn't allow his son to come in to the hospital while he was asleep. We didn't want to have him see him in that condition. So those 2.5 weeks that he was awake and alert, we brought Connor in every day after school and to spend time with Ryan. And so after he passed away on April 21st, just 7 weeks from being diagnosed, I was very angry at the first hospital. I felt they had taken away 4.5 weeks of his life after we experienced those 2.5 weeks with him. And so I did research nationwide on what states were doing to regulate hospitals and allowing either disallowing or allowing the use of cannabis, and there was nothing anywhere. So I spent another month writing the bill myself, found a sponsor, Senator Ben Waso. We introduced it in February of 2019, and I went to Sacramento and lobbied for it. I lobbied all 120 legislators, 40 senators, and 80 assemblymen. In September of 2019, it passed the Assembly 76-0 and the Senate 40-0.
Mm-hmm.
People who were against cannabis in general said they were supporting, and some of them actually authored or co-authored the bill. So they said we're doing it because it wasn't about cannabis; it was about quality of life for people who were dying. And went to the governor; he vetoed it a month later. I was shocked because the governor is a pro-cannabis governor, but he was influenced by the opposition, which is the California Hospital Association, and they were concerned that they would lose Medicare and Medicaid funding because it was still a Schedule I prohibited substance, and the governor was influenced by that.
And when you say governor, is it our governor here in California?
Yes, Gavin Newsom.
Gavin Newsom, and it's a shame because he is a proponent for cannabis. I've been to events up here in the San Francisco Bay Area where he's been and he's spoken to. So to hear that story that you are 76-0 in support with the Assembly and 40-0 in support with the Senate, that he would veto that months later. I mean, that just must have been just crushing one, because you feel like you're taking my son away from me again, Yeah.
It was crushing. When I got his email with his veto letter attached, I just cried. It was.
That's what's your next step with?
Well, we because of the veto, we reintroduced it this year, February 21st of this year. It's now Senate Bill 1216, but it's still called Ryan's Law.
Okay.
We changed our strategy. The first time it was to get legislative support, which we still have. So now we're focusing on the governor, since that's where the problem is. And so we opened up a Twitter and Instagram account. It's Ryan's Law 2020.
Good.
We're getting enormous support through those accounts, and tens of thousands of supporters through that.
Yeah.
And we're encouraging people to write to the governor, tweet the governor, emailing.
Yes, tell him cannabis is essential in California now. We need it to be essential for our patients in hospitals.
Exactly.
So all you're trying to do with Ryan's Law is to help terminally ill patients in the hospital have access as another option
Yeah, the bill, the essence of the bill is that it requires all hospitals in California and other healthcare facilities like hospice centers to allow, it requires them to allow patients, terminally ill patients, to use cannabis for treatment and or pain relief. That's the essence of the bill. And several
opt out for those that have trouble, correct, with funding?
Yes, yeah. So we addressed the funding issue that the hospitals were concerned about early on. They opposed the bill every step of the way, and we beat them at every vote. But early on, we identified that as an issue for them. So we amended the bill to that says that if they were to, any hospital were to be cited by the federal government for allowing cannabis in their hospital against federal regulations, that they would be suspended from compliance with the bill until after that issue was resolved. So they had an out.
Yeah.
And again, that's why I was so amazed that the governor didn't understand that, apparently, because that was the reason he said he didn't endorse the or sign the bill.
Yeah.
So what this opens up too is the need to offer science-based, well, require science-based cannabis education to all healthcare workers, which, I mean, how huge would that be?
You know, we've done this. Corinne and I did this a few years ago with hospice, the Bay Area, and we did an event up in Napa County, and there were about 225 hospice officials there and hospice nurses that came just for education and learning about this. We were in hospice with Corinne, and they were open to, and they knew what we were doing. But it's sad because, again, I'm alive because of conventional medicine. I'm never going to say that cannabis is the golden pill, the golden ticket for everyone. I've seen it work with my father-in-law. It didn't work for my wife or Ryan to keep them here longer. So I don't want to give anybody false hope. But the sad thing is that they automatically turn to these pharmaceuticals. And in my opinion, it's human euthanizing. Well, look at Corinne. She's sleeping. She's out of pain. You know, give her some more, give her some more, give her some more, and just fade off. And when I would be up with Corinne at 2 a.m. to 8 a.m. talking. Can you hear? Of course I can hear you. She would talk. We would pray. We renewed our vows. You know, we did all this stuff, and then everyone would show up in the morning, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Oh, look at her. Give her some more. Give her. And I'm like, listen, I talked to her all night, and I asked her, does she want to be on these pills? Because it was, as you've seen, and you feel that 4 weeks were taken from you. You know, taken from Ryan and his. My apologies earlier when I didn't mention his son. You know, but 4 weeks, and again, to me, it was human euthanizing. And so, what's your next step? I know, you've changed your approach of not going towards the governor. I mean, I think like Janet was saying, like let's continue on this route.
We just want to inundate between now and when it gets on his desk again, probably August. They are going to shorten the legislative process this year because of COVID. When it gets on his desk this year, we want to make sure that he's been educated, that he understands that this is not a partisan issue. This is not a pro-cannabis or anti-cannabis issue. This is a quality of life issue for terminally ill patients who are going to die in hospitals or in hospice centers. And getting to understand that we have provisions in the bill that protect hospitals from any federal jurisdictional issues. I've spoken to the California Attorney General's office about whether they intend to enforce anything with hospitals, and they said they're not funded to do it. Yeah. Congress actually took that funding away for any cannabis enforcement. They're not interested, as they've got higher priorities than this. So a lot of what the governor is concerned about, it just isn't practical. It's not either from a legal perspective or from a cultural perspective.
Yeah. I always share, as you know as well, you know, cancer does not discriminate. You can have the healthiest person. I mean, I don't know if you've been on these pancreatic cancer webinars with MD Anderson, Sloan Kettering, Johns Hopkins, and they always say, number one reason, obesity. My wife and Ryan, no. Alcoholic, she didn't drink. Smoker, no. High stress, no. Family life, no family life. I'm like, tell me something that was not my wife.
Right.
And pancreatic is, we took 3 blood tests and 3 of them came back no cancer. And I said, I know my wife,
Wow.
let's do this.
Yeah.
And so, I thank you, Jim. I know you have another call here, but I wanted to, is there anything you want to leave our listeners with on how to find and what to do if
Get online, Ryan's Law 2020, and write the governor, text the governor, tweet him, let him know that there's wide support for this, that millions of people are going to be benefited from this.
Yeah.
We intend to take this nationwide. We're not just stopping with California.
And that was my next thing is what if someone's not here in California, our listeners go nationally and globally.
Ryan's Law nationwide, all 50 states. Oregon and Washington are next, and we'll head east after that. But so many millions of families will be benefiting from this legislation, and that's what it's all about. I never want another family to go through what I went through.
And I heard you say in one of your interviews, this is something to put a stamp in I guess the history books, but in life in general about Ryan. So we don't forget Ryan, we don't forget Corinne. But you said this is something that Ryan would want. He would not want another family to go through what you guys went through, and I know that pain. It's so.
He was so happy when he was able to spend time with his family, even though it was short. It was quality time. I mean, he had friends flying in from all over the country, college friends and lifelong friends that just, that was so important to him. And spending time with Connor and his wife, I mean, reaching some kind of closure with them, which wouldn't have happened. It gets back to what you said earlier about, the hospitals were just fine with putting him on fentanyl and making him pain-free, but sleeping all the time. Yeah. And they were going to keep doing that until the day he died, if we had intervened with the cannabis. And
those substances are far higher risk than cannabis, which has an unsurpassed safety profile. So there's not a lot of logic behind this. I know we discussed this before, Jim, that it's all about politics and money. It's not in the best interest of patients.
Exactly.
They want their right to autonomy. They want their right to choose the medicine that they want. They need to help us fight this as well. They need to be speaking up to medical professionals and letting them know there is science behind this plant. Just because they didn't hear about it in medical school or in their formal training doesn't mean that it's, that it's not valid.
Right.
There are tens of thousands of valid research studies on this subject.
We have support from Janna's group, the Cannabis Nurses Network. Uh-huh. And so I'm asking anyone involved in the healthcare industry, particularly nurses and doctors, to get involved and get educated, and then take that expertise and knowledge and convey it to the governor so that he understands it.
If there are other spouses and parents that are watching this, Jim, even kids with their loved ones or their parents, can you share on how they can get a hold of you if they have any questions?
Yes. My email is jim@bartellassociates.com. And my cell phone number is 619-787-0333.
Well, great, Jim. I thank you for that too. And
thank you, John.
Jim
Bartell. You may get flooded with calls, Jim.
We'll be ready on helping. And Corinne and I had a pay it forward attitude in life while we're here, and sounds like Ryan was the same, and we continue to pay it forward. And that's what keeps me going. My faith keeps me going, but just knowing, that I'm helping, because people ask, why do you still do this if it didn't save your wife? And I've seen it work. I've seen it work, and I know Corinne would want to continue on, and I thank you for doing what you're doing, and truly a pleasure meeting you, because there's a reason why we were brought back together. And so Jim Bartell, with the Senate Bill 305, Ryan's Law, and actually it changed Senate Bill. What was the new Senate Bill? I'm sorry.
1216.
And my dear friend Janna Champagne, and thank you for everything you do, Janna. And we'll get Janna on the show, and we'll talk about Janna is not only an incredible person, an incredible nurse, but a mom of an autistic child. And so she specializes in all the gamuts of illness and the benefits of medical cannabis. But we'll get you back on, Janna, to talk about autism, which was a big topic.
Yes.
Thank
you for having me today. I admire both of you so much for turning your experience into purpose and helping other people. I mean, I think that's just the purest intent on earth. So thank you both. I'm so glad you came together, and I hope we reach a lot of people today.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Janna. Appreciate it.
Thanks to you both. This is John Malanka with United Patients Group. Be informed and be well. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Hi, John Malanka here with United Patients Group. I hope you've enjoyed our videos. Please click like as well as subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. Also, follow us on Twitter at Patients Group and on Facebook at United Patients Group, as well as for our podcast. Please click the link in the description below. We'll see you there. Bye-bye.